And obviously, we need the bare bones of the ecosystem, so you need those. But then everything after that, it has to be passion driven by the builders. Just because, a lot of times builders ask me, "Hey, what should I build?" And I say I hate answering that question because I only want you to build what you want to build. Because the moment that things get tough, and in crypto, it's very easy for things to get tough, right? But if you have that passion, desire, you'll persevere through the hard times.
Gmove, and welcome. After last week's episode with Coop, we have another high-level movement community and team member today, Torab. Hi,
Hello,
and
hello.
welcome.
How you doing?
Just all good. How are you on the sunny
Doing
day in San
well.
Francisco?
Yes, I'm about 30 minutes from San Francisco, so but the Bay Area. So I was born and raised here, so it's home.
Yeah, still sunny. So
Yeah, this is a real background actually. I guess the backyard looks nice right now because I just fixed it. So I just painted the fences so it looks all nice.
perfect. Yeah, so just to start some things off, can you just sharing your background and how you became involved with movement labs?
Sure. So actually, I'm one of the older team members. So I actually had a Web2 typical SaaS Silicon Valley sales role. So I worked on like Salesforce. I sold mobile analytics for a bit at Sensor Tower. And so I worked with a lot of the big mobile developers. And so for me, when I looked at Salesforce, it's like the CRM system, like the CRM game has kind of been tapped out. There's no real upside for me there. Then I went to mobile gaming or mobile in general. And I also felt that like most of the people who like made it, they had already made it. And then I actually got into crypto in 2017. That's when I had my first buy. I regret not just buying as much as Bitcoin as I could have, or even Ethereum. But I actually bought Ripple. And that was my first buy, and I've atoned for my sins since then. But it's okay. I didn't know I could buy a piece of Bitcoin. And then after that, I was actually looking to work full time in crypto, but at that time, there was never really any roles, especially for BD. Everything was very tech focused. And then I was big in the Solana ecosystem. And so then I started working at Marinade on Solana, which was the largest DeFi protocols, liquid staking. I think they're number two or three now. I think Jito's number one. Also a great team. Love them. I wear their merch all the time. And then I worked at this dApp on Arbitrum, then at Edge and Node, the graph. And then one day I was on Telegram and I saw this guy named Rushi post a message. I responded to him within, I think, 30 seconds. They were looking for a BD guy. And then we had a call the next day with Cooper and they made me an offer. And then, yeah, like the rest is history, as they say.
Actually, like most of the guys who joined in the ICO boom 2017. Um,
I didn't
and
make any ICO money though. That's the only difference. I mean, everyone gets destroyed their first cycle, right? The first and second
yes,
cycle, and the third cycle, you realize you don't have to be reactionary. I mean, I think most people they just buy spot and chill. So that's what ends up working out for everyone. But yeah,
yeah, but I think the most important thing is to keep on track, even if you get wrecked or something. But yeah, nice to see how things evolved for you and you came to movement. So yeah, can you maybe share a little bit with our audience? What are your main responsibilities as the head of business development at Movement? So people
sure.
get some idea about your daily work.
Yeah. So I was, I think, the third team member. So our first, like the first team member outside of the founders was Liam in engineering, then Will in marketing, and then third was me. And then for the longest time, it was just us. So like we used to, especially Coop and Will, we used to, they'd come to the Bay Area and then we'd go like rent an apartment and then we would just work there and spend the whole day together, that type of stuff. So those were fun days. Now we have an office, so it's even better. But those days were obviously a little bit special because it was just three dudes driving around, like just us, working together. So that was cool. And so for me, essentially, my job was talk to builders, explain to them what is movement, why they should care, why they should build, and then build. First, we're just bringing in builders, and then slowly, once we add enough, it's like, okay, you have to build an entire ecosystem. So you have to make sure that the basics, so that you need wallets and indexing and oracles, and you need dexes and lending and yield bearing vaults, those type of things. And so slowly you start building this ecosystem, and so that's essentially my job and making sure that everyone kind of talks to each other, make sure the builders know who they are. So we have like a builder chat where all the builders can share information with one another, ask questions like, hey, I'm running into this issue. Is anyone else seeing this issue? And so my job is to bring them in and cultivate good vibes. And so it does feel that there's good vibes, not because of me, because the builders just have good vibes. So it's been pretty good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, you just mentioned already some key parts or key partnerships. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on that? Which partnerships are shaping movement very much or very specially? And maybe are there some hot narratives which we know from crypto? I mean, crypto is like a hot narrative game. Do we have something like DeepIn, AI, restaking? Is that something which is a topic on movement as well?
Yeah. So one of the traps you can fall into is always following the hot narrative because it's like you're chasing wind. It's always going to change. Like there's nothing, you can't bottle it, right? But I do think what happens is as these narratives are created, you have builders who are excited about that narrative, and then they're like, I want to build it. And just being able to capture the builder and say, okay, tomorrow AI might not be as hot, but the fact that you're excited about AI makes me excited about AI, and I want to support you in any way I can. And that's kind of how we approach it. Obviously we need the bare bones of the ecosystem, so you need those, but then everything after that, it has to be passion driven by the builders. Just because a lot of times builders ask me, hey, what should I build? And I say I hate answering that question because I only want you to build what you want to build, right? Because the moment that things get tough, and in crypto it's very easy for things to get tough, right? Like if tomorrow, god forbid, there's like a huge nuke in the market, right? Bitcoin drops $10,000, you're going to be like, I don't want to work in crypto anymore. But if you have that passion, desire, you'll persevere through the hard times. But in terms of to actually answer your question, you had asked, what partnerships we're really excited about. So I'm not sure when this is going to air, but right now it's Friday, August 16th. And yesterday we announced the partnership with Frax. So Frax is near and dear to my heart. First of all, because it's the first DeFi protocol I ever farmed. Like it was the first time I provided liquidity on Uniswap and staked my LP tokens, and I was earning. And so that was like, anyways. So then it coming full circle that being able to talk to Sam, and obviously what's been amazing about builders like Sam is although they've been in crypto since 2020, they were the ones who kind of started DeFi summer. They still have that hunger to do more, to push crypto forward just in general. And so that's really cool to be able to work with a builder like that. And so that's what I'm really excited about because they're bringing over a bunch of their products. And if you guys don't know about Frax, really look into it because it's really cool. They're providing a stable coin that's uncensorable. So for example, with USDC and USDT, which we love. But if something were to ever happen, they can blacklist your wallet and then you just won't have access to it ever again. Whereas with Frax, it's impossible. It's a decentralized algorithmic stablecoin. So that type of stuff is really cool to me. And then in addition, we do have some RWA conversations we're having with some big institutional players. I can't share the details right now,
Yeah,
but
of course.
a lot of it is, bringing in treasury bills on chain with teams like institutional players that want to earn yield and then also use it for DeFi or for perps protocols, that type of stuff. So those are the stuff I'm really excited about. The AI stuff I'm excited about in general, but I just don't understand AI, like crypto or non-crypto. So I'm sure it's going to be a thing. I just don't know enough about it. So maybe I should brush up on it.
Yeah, so maybe like we had the ICO boom and the ICO mania. Now we have the AI mania as well. So let's see how that one will evolve. Um, yeah, and you already mentioned those partnerships which have the true belief. Are you into or do you have some like significant partnerships which you are excited about, which like align with the vision of movement on a long term?
Yeah. So of course, like our long-term vision is to be the best L2 in all of crypto. And most people don't care about L1, L2. What they care about is the best place to trade, to buy, to sell, to mint NFTs, to like there's all these different narratives that you just don't know. So for example, a year ago, if I said that Solana was going to be the meme coin chain, it wouldn't have meant much. But when Pump.Fun started gaining traction, now it's the meme coin. Before it was the NFT, right? It was the NFT chain. But what's interesting is that when NFTs were hot, there was all this infrastructure built on Solana for sniping, for being able to like front run people on mints. And that same architecture was just brought to meme coins where like you can snipe a meme coin the moment it launches. So
Mm.
my point is that sometimes you build something not knowing that it's going to be used for something else. And so for us, I think that if we start saying this is what exactly movement's going to be used for, we paint ourselves in a corner. Whereas if we just continue building and have some expertise in certain areas just because there's builders that want to build it, then maybe tomorrow it's used for something else. And so I don't want to do that where we call ourselves the X chain, like the whatever chain, and then later down the road, that's not even a strong narrative, and then that's it. You kind of uh,
Yeah.
shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, then that makes absolutely sense. As you mentioned before, we had since 2017 so many projects coming up, and you never know what's happening. So yeah, I think that's a good approach to set the base layer and look what next narrative maybe can come up and maybe build on movement next time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's certain ecosystems that are known. Like there's certain chains where it's like whatever's the narrative, that's what they do now. And then there's a certain point where people just don't believe you. And so, and also it's harder for builders, right? So let's say, for example, if I say I am the AI chain, let's just say I said that, and now all the AI builders are excited to build on me. And then 3 months later, I say, we're the DeFi chain. They're like, wait, what? Like, what happened? Because like it takes time to build things. So if you're gonna, so that's why I think it's really dangerous to say that you're the X chain unless you truly are and like you have no plans. It doesn't matter if the narrative goes cold. You know that this is what you want to build because you have so much conviction and passion for this one particular vertical.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, there are many topics coming up which you have to cover all the time. Would you say there are like some special challenges which you have to face as a BD or a business developer within that rapidly evolving Web3 space? Is that something special, maybe different to the regular BD, which you do in other industries?
Yeah, so people ask me this all the time. Actually, someone asked me in the Telegram, I should respond to them. I have like 1,200 now. Oh God. It was 1,100. Yes, I have 1,200 unread Telegram messages. The biggest challenge is probably communication, whereas in Web 2, everything is done via email. So if you want to do a comparison of Web 2 versus Web 3, almost everything is done via email, which makes it very easy to track because you have to organize your folders. Whereas in Telegram, yes, I know Telegram has folders, but what happens is like you get so many different chats and so many different variations of the chat. So like you'll have one with a team, and then you have a different chat with just the founder, and then it'll be just the founder and the marketing team. And so you get like all these different groups for the same team that you're working with, and so then it becomes very hard to organize. Anyways,
Yeah.
but I would say the hardest part of I actually wrote a tweet about this, like from a BD perspective. Like I wrote a Twitter thread about like why BD in Web3 is hella hard. And so one of the biggest ones is that sales is just hard in general because it's constantly having to provide results, and the results are generally very clear in Web 2. In Web 2, it's like, did you close a sale? How much was the contract worth? How much revenue is that for the company? In Web 3, for example, we just announced the Frax partnership. How do you quantify that? Very difficult because there's no contract value. So it's more so a perception. What is the perceived value of this partnership? Because you actually don't know until months, maybe even years down the road, the impact of that partnership. And so I think one of the problems that a lot of BD folks in Web3 face is that it's easy to get burnt out because in Web 2, when you close a deal, number one is you get 10% of the deal. So if you close a $100,000 deal, you get a $10,000 commission check plus your salary. And then there's like accelerators and bonuses and all that type of stuff. And so what happens is that, it's a tough time, the person's not responding, man, do I keep following up? But if you know that there's a dollar amount that is attributed to like closing this deal, it motivates you. In Web3, it's not like that because if you do close a partnership in Web3, I made a joke. I was just like, you get a high five, a slap on the ass, and like on to the next one, which is fine. Like, but so my point is that you have to really love this. Like, if you do not love doing this, it's going to be difficult. And so, yeah, that's essentially from my side one of the biggest differences is how we communicate with one another. Um, I would say the frequency of communication. Like in Web 2, you get an email maybe once a day or twice a day from a person. Now in Telegram, you're getting hundreds of messages in a chat, right? So there's this constant communication. Also, the time zone difference is really tough. So in Web 2, generally everyone's within that American time zone. Once in a while, you'll take a European or time in India. But in crypto, it's completely global. So I have like two schedules, night schedule and day schedule. And so that can become very tiresome and kind of mess up your sleep. So you need to make sure you go to the gym or play basketball, whatever sport you like to play, and just to be active. So that was a very long-winded answer, but yeah, there's more. I would say there's a little bit more as well, but I think high level, that's probably the biggest difference. Those are the biggest differences. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I like to hear how you guys doing, how you organize your day, because I think that's something the most people don't really can imagine when they are not into crypto, and especially maybe from the community, they ask themselves, well, what's Torab doing his whole day? But I think when they see you all the time in different social media channels, they see you quite busy. Um, yeah, so I think you really have to look and organize yourself, not to get burned out or whatever.
And
Yes.
then also you want to make sure that because a lot of times the worst feeling in crypto is when you reach out to someone and they don't respond for a while. Like that's just in general, right? And so in crypto, it's especially because they know you have your phone open with Telegram, right? Versus for email, it's a little more understood that you're not going to respond immediately or whenever. And so for me, one of the biggest challenges has been having enough time daily just to go through all my missed messages in Telegram or like the ones I have to respond to and they have to prioritize and that's why in my Telegram I say please that mention me because there's all these chats. Sometimes it's not relevant to me, but I have to still be in there. So, anyways, uh, I don't expect anyone to shed tears for me, but I will say if you're gonna get into BD and crypto, these are things to be aware of.
Yeah. So let's maybe move to another topic, more about movement's vision, or maybe also your personal vision. Movement is quite ambitious, or has ambitious visions about expanding the network. You already mentioned a little bit, especially in the modular space. Can you maybe give like a whole picture, or yeah, what the
Yeah.
plans are, what the visions are?
So, I'm not a technical person. So for me, the way I actually think about the vision is more so as a user. So like everything I do, I think about either as a retail user or as a builder. And so my job as the BD ecosystem person is to cultivate an environment where people will be happy and they can do what they want to do or what they need to do. So obviously, I personally believe that the only product market fit that we have in crypto is DeFi. I think that if meme coins disappeared, most people wouldn't necessarily care. NFTs disappeared, most people really wouldn't care. But DeFi is enabling people, like, especially Western countries, particularly the United States. We don't really care about stable coins as much, except to like get in and out of trades on chain. But for a lot of people, that's the only way that they have access to a currency that's not constantly being devalued. Now, the irony, of course, the US dollar is being devalued. It just is being devalued less than the other currencies, which make it seem like it's not being debased or devalued. And so for me, my vision is that we will have the most robust DeFi ecosystem in all of crypto with the speed and the safety that perhaps other chains don't have because of the move language. And so for me, that's my number one vision. My number two vision is obviously to have consumer apps, right? To be able to have NFTs and any other type of gaming. I think gaming is. I think people are so fed up with gaming that they kind of don't believe it in anymore. But I do believe it will happen because I've seen. I used to be in the mobile space. So, for example, Apple and Google, when you buy something from an app game like Roblox or whatever, if it's a one-time transaction, you pay 30%. So 30% of what you pay goes to Apple or Google, and then the rest of it goes to the developer. Now, imagine if in crypto we had P2P payments. if you are able to immediately pay and it's 100%, or let's say 99.9% going straight to the developer. And the other issue is that in mobile, it's net 45 terms. So for people who don't know net, so what would happen is that if we say, for example, June 1st, and you have net 45 terms, it's at the end of the month. 45 days after that is when you get paid. So
Mm,
this is why, if you ever watch Shark Tank or these investing shows, they talk about cash flow is king, is because if when you build a product and you get paid for it way down the road, there's going to be a certain point where I have no money to pay anyone, and you need the money today. And so that is actually one of the biggest problem mobile developers have, is that you can launch a great product and you won't get paid for up to like 75 days later, right? Because if someone buys it June 1st, you don't get it until 45 days later, 30 days to finish the month plus the 45 days. And
mm,
so crypto actually unironically fixes this. There's like that meme. So if we were able to have a system where users are able to pay immediately, that actually helps people so much. And then secondly, as a business owner, there's like tax ramifications. And so you get to get pre-tax money, spend it, and then pay your taxes. And so, anyways, so there's actually a lot of benefits. The more you're in an industry, you kind of know them better. And obviously, I was in mobile, and I used to call it the mobile mafia. So it was like Apple and Google, where it's like they come to you and say, "Give me 30%. If you don't, we remove you." What are you gonna do? You have no choice. So it is a mafia, but they do provide a service, so I'll give them that. There's no doubt about that. But I do think that if we can decentralize these type of distribution centers, because like if you think about what did mobile do, it fixed distribution. In one moment, you can deploy a app and a billion people have access to it. Never done before, So that's amazing. And so the question is, now that we have internet, everyone has internet. How do we decentralize these distribution methods? So, anyways, I'll get off my soapbox for now.
yeah, very cool. And I'm facing this questions or this issues in my daily work as well, because many people ask why we need that. Like we have a system which is working, but as you said, many people have some issues in the world, like you said, like the payment gap or like the lag in payments. So I think crypto can really solve those issues. And as you said before, with building movement as an infrastructure layer, who knows who will come or what will come in the future. So yeah.
Yeah, so one country that really, so I spent the summer in Turkey. Turkey was
Mm,
actually really interesting. So I've shared the story a lot of times, but I was walking around Turkey and I see the big tether sign, like the T of USDT. I
yeah.
was like, what the hell store is this? So I walk in and it's essentially um what's the word in it's called a sut off, but like where you do money exchange. So you
Mm,
go there and you give them like dollars and they'll give you lira. And
yeah.
so when I walked in, I was like, so how do you guys do crypto? They said, oh, if you send us USDT or USDC, we'll give you liras. And what was interesting is that I got a better rate with my crypto USDC, USDT than I got with a actual $100 bill. And when I talked to them, they said, well, first of all, there's a lot of people that want to hold dollars. And so they would rather hold it digitally than to hold it in cash. That's number one. Number two, there's a lot of users, like if you look at the chart of the lira, I remember the first time I went, I think it was like 13 lira to a dollar. When I went the second time, it was like 28. So just in like 1 or 2 years, it like went down 50%, which is crazy. Like imagine if your entire business is you're buying stuff in dollars and you're getting paid in lira. That's a nightmare, right? And so I do think that just those type of use cases are really powerful, and people don't really realize it because a lot of the crypto Twitter mindshare, they're based in like Europe and the United States, which generally have more economic stability when it comes to currency.
Yeah, absolutely. So, because you mentioned the use cases, is that something you dive in as a BD as well? Is that, I mean, probably you have to look what are current use cases.
Yeah, so a lot of times, like people will just ask me, "What do you think about this idea?" And then I give them my honest feedback of, where I think, like, because you see so many projects, you can already see some of the pitfalls. And so I think one of the jobs that us as the movement team, ecosystem BD have is to provide meaningful feedback. And so we try our best. we can always be better at it. But yeah, of course, like I want these teams to succeed. Like I take it as a personal trust that they're entrusting in me that we're going to provide a good ecosystem for them. And so I'm not, it actually is a lot of, it's pressure in a good way where you feel this responsibility to provide a really good experience for everybody and a really good um, ecosystem for people, an environment for people to be able to operate in. And so, yeah, part of that is ensuring that teams, as much as I can, there's only so much you can do, but I want to make sure that they're successful. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Um, so yeah, especially when you are in crypto, maybe as an investor, but everybody in the ecosystem who is getting information and stuff looks always on one number, and that's the count of developers or the amount of developers. How is your team working to attract those developers? Do you provide them with some special support or any initiatives which you provide them?
Yeah, so a lot of times people ask me like what are our incentives? And so obviously, we're working towards we haven't fully built it out yet, but ideally you would want in my ideal scenario, you have builders who hold the native token, right? So if I the example I always give is if someone comes to your house and says, I'll paint your house. I'll do it for free. I would say no because they might start one wall and never finish the second one because there's no incentive for them to continue. And so I think one of the problems that a lot of ecos and this is my people can argue with me. I'm open to debating. Is that when you give cash to users, the cash immediately gets spent. There's two problems. Number one is the cash gets spent, and then if your ecosystem does well, they have no upside with you, right? So I like for the team to hold our token because if our token does well, then they're doing well. The second issue is that if you pay out cash, you end up getting all these mercenary builders who will say, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll build you a Dex or I'll build you a this if you give me $100,000," and they'll build it, and then they take the money, they build it, and then they never really care about it again, and that's on to the next one that gives them cash. Because that can be pretty profitable, especially if you have like a cheap engineering team and you continuously just keep doing that and
Yeah,
grant farm. But for us, one of our benefits was that we didn't have any cash to give, so it naturally weeded out all those types of builders. And so the teams we have now are very dedicated to movement. And to this day, we have not given $1 to any team to deploy on movement in terms of cash, but we try to align incentives for sure. So um, and then of course there's like the developer tooling. So we're working with different teams to provide a better developer experience because Move is a new language. So obviously that's top of mind. Right now it's let's launch the network. And once we've proven that there's this cool ecosystem, now we start and we're doing it now. Like we already have hackathons and stuff we're working on, but then we can really ramp it up to start getting that new wave of developers to come in and build cool things.
yeah. And I think that's connecting nicely to our last episode with Coops, who yeah was telling how the movement, or actually crypto, but movement in special is a network of networks, and so you can use that network to leverage up and get the teams teaming up together. And I think that's something we're already seeing pretty much in movement as well. So team A teaming up with team B, and yeah, I'm really hyped to see how that will evolve in the future and to what kind of innovation and growth it can lead.
Yeah, that's probably one of the coolest things is when because a lot of times teams will ask us, "Hey, can you make an introduction to so and so?" And of course we do it. But what's really cool is when I don't make the introduction and I see on Twitter they have a partnership announcement I had no idea about because now the community is living, it's organic, it's not dependent on me. Uh, as much as it makes me feel all nice and tingly that everyone's dependent on me, it's actually better for the ecosystem. It's more robust and so obviously that's what we really want is the builders working with one another. And my job, the way I see my role, is just to facilitate that type of cross pollination. So yeah, man, it's been really cool, and hopefully there's more. And yeah, I'm really excited. Obviously, we're in testnet now. Mainnet coming soon. Fingers crossed. And then from there on, it becomes a different game. So very excited for the challenges ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, testnet launch was already crazy. I think we were waiting so much for it, and once it came up, I think it blew minds anyways. And it's so nice to see how you guys really redefined the way how you can participate. And as you said before, you have the incentives uh, to connect with the teams and stuff. So yeah, I'm really looking forward how that will even look once mainnet is coming. And yeah, when we are at that point, what are your personal upcoming milestones for movement, which you are the most excited about? And yeah, how maybe is your personal role even to achieve that goal?
Yeah, I think it's kind of what I said before, which is now we need to launch the chain. Like now we have to have a main net, right? So testnet's been great. Testnet's been amazing. The metrics are amazing. But we've seen a lot of stories or situations where the testnet goes well and then mainnet, and you find out, oh, it was bots the entire time, right? And like we don't want that. We don't need that. And like for us, our biggest focus is organic users and growth because like that's the only way we want to build something real, right? I want something that is going to last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? I don't want something that's just, oh, let's quickly put something together just so we can catch the cycle and then after that sail off into the sunset and then just jump company to company. Like that's not what my personal goal is. My goal is to be here, stay here, help foster the growth and turn this into one of the biggest players in all of crypto and to provide a really robust ecosystem for builders, for users. And so, yeah, that's so those are like the big things for me, it's just making this thing work and putting all these pieces together and weaving it into like a really nice tapestry. So that's what I'm focused on.
And that connects perfectly back to what you said in the beginning, that you really need to have this true conviction and a true belief in your product or your chain you're setting up. So I think that's some, or like the very basic thing you need to have. Otherwise, it's not possible to be successful in the long term.
Yeah, because like I said, the lows are low, the highs are high. Like when we did our raise announcement, when testnet launched, it was amazing. And then there's certain times where things are tough. Things are not always going to be rosy. And so, how do you fight through that and continue to build with that same rigor and zeal that you had when the times were good? And so, if you have a goal, then it makes it much easier for sure.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned in the very beginning how your story was coming up in crypto and especially on the movement. Can you give maybe some other young people who are in the similar position like you, looking for a BD job or a job in general in crypto? What should they have from their mindset and from their interests? To can share
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I got my first job in crypto in my 30s. All right. So, it, but whether you're young or old, but what's cool is that every role I got was not through an application. Like my first role at Marinade that I got was actually because I was in the Discord. I was just in the Discord and they sent out a thing. So it's called Marinade, right? Because they're steak. And so they said, who wants to be a chef? So anyone who works on the team is a chef. And so they said, do you want to be a chef? So I filled out a form. They met me. We had an interview. Like we just had like a Zoom call. Like, yeah, let's do this. And then another one, the DApp on Arbitrum that I was building with, that team I listened to his podcast. I hit him up, the founder, on Telegram. We had a call, and then he made me a job offer. And so my point in saying all of this is that it's not always going to be a typical LinkedIn, oh, apply. Sometimes, like I'm telling you, every team in crypto is looking for talent. I promise you, every like, oh, we're not hiring for roles. It's they're lying to you. They might not be actively hiring, but if they see someone that they think is very talented and that can help them, they will hire you, right? And so, what you as a young person should understand is what am I good at? Where is my value proposition? And just be really good at one thing, and don't be a jerk. And you should be able to find a home. But the question is, how do you illustrate that skill, right? So how do you show people that I'm really good at this thing? And the best way is just to be involved in the community, in Discord, help people because everyone notices. Like if you talk to like Merc runs our Discord, right? He knows who the top helpers are, who are the people that are the most helpful, who do people turn to for advice, or oh, I'm running into this issue. It's very clear who those users are, and trust me, it doesn't go unnoticed. And so similarly, if you think it's going to be one of those, oh, they reach out to you and say, hey, do you want to come work and be part of the that's not how it works. You just have to show a little bit of something and make sure that you're seen, and then the rest is, there's there's an element of luck for sure, but you have to do your best to get lucky.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about crypto, because that's, I think, the first time maybe in history where you really can't just contribute and your direct contribution gets reflected to you, or is possible to get reflected because you don't have all the intermediaries and other people who maybe have some other interests. So once you are really engaged in a well-functioned and well-designed community, it can really open new doors, I think. And that's what I saw in movement so far, the best, and nowhere else. So
Yeah, yeah. We're not the only ones for sure, but
no,
we definitely strive to, yeah, we definitely strive to be the best or to uphold that standard. So yeah.
cool. So then, thank you so far for sharing all your ideas. Do you have something else you want to say to the community or share with the community?
No, man. This was really cool. I'm happy that I'm honored that you invited me to the podcast and then we're able to have it. It's really cool, and hopefully we can have another one after mainnet where we're celebrating. That's my
Sure.
hope. So yeah, and we're gonna be big at KBW. We're gonna be big at Token 2049 in Singapore. So I will be at KBW. If anyone's gonna be there, hit me up. We'll get together. Come to our booth. We have like the biggest booth there. So I would love to fill it up with some of the movers, the gorilla movers, or just the non-gorilla movers as well.
Sure. I'm pretty convinced there will be some gorillas over there and some
Okay.
other movers. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Torab.
Thank you so much, brother. You have a good one.